we're here today to see how this thing, the Universal Audio aux box, holds up with the Drive King. So this is a fantastic amp. I really love this amp, and before too long I will own one of these things. So we just want to see how this classy amp is represented through the aux box. This is without the aux box. I'll try and play the same thing with all settings. So the same kind of thing. This is through the aux box. We're just listening to the way it affects the tone. I mean, it's hard to really know how much it affects the dynamics if you're not playing through it. But let me try and play the same kind of stuff as I just played without the aux box. To me is that it's a bit less dynamic, but still a good tone, I think. So let's move on to the drive sound. So same kind of thing as before. Pick up So it's clean sound. It's, for me, the way it feels to me is that it's a bit less dynamic, but still a good tone, I think. So let's move on to the drive sound. So same kind of thing as before. So you guys decide what you think of it, but for my money, as I keep saying, it's a bit less dynamic, and it takes a bit of juice out of the what's coming out of the speaker. Don't you think? Even when the aux box is up full,
yeah,
there's less coming out of the speaker. So the attenuator is definitely doing stuff, even when it's dialed up. But again, you know what the decision people have to make if they're thinking about investing in an aux box is it going to be a better solution than other options? Do you still want the flexibility of using a grown-up amp like this? And is it good enough? Does it represent enough of the tone of the amp to justify doing it? For my money, it does. For my money, it's still worth using this if you can be bothered to lug this around and a proper rig rather than one little box. But it's just to have that degree of flexibility. I'm still into it. You know, I'm still. You know, I'm glad I bought this thing. I would definitely use it with this as well. I mean, what's the verdict? because it's precious, you know. And, you know what this amp sounds like. I love this. You know how much I love these amps.
There's definitely something taken away when the aux box is in between the amp and the speaker.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tell whether that's just a volume drop.
Yeah.
From a technical perspective, I would imagine it's more than that. There'll definitely be some kind of dummy load thing going on, and then a tapped version of the full output.
Yeah.
Then going to the speaker.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to hear back the direct recordings from the aux box.
Yeah.
I've heard great results with them.
Yeah.
Ash Wilson uses one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
With his Groove King, and I think he used it on his album. He got great.
Yeah. Right.
Great tones.
Yeah.
For me, it's about the enjoyment of playing.
Yeah.
And how it feels to play. Because like we know with digital processors, they can sound great to the audience, to the listener.
Yeah.
As a player, it's not the same thing, is it?
No, I think they've come a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard me use this thing. I'm pretty comfortable with it, but that's why I'm interested in this. I want that. It's a real amp tone, isn't it? Real amp response. So the question is, to what degree does the aux box affect it? It definitely does, but I mean, I think it's quite telling. Since I got this, I haven't used a modelling solution, which I used to. So that's quite telling.
And you're getting better tones.
Yeah. I mean, like that solo guitar thing I play, I'm pretty
great.
happy with that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty meaty tone.
Yeah.
I'm actually going for like a Groove King sort of tone on that, a classic, warm, clean tone. So it's a different calculation for me, because it's a compromise, but it's a compromise so that I can still use a real amp, rather than going fully digital. So, it's a different calculation, because left to my own devices, I mean, if we had the space and were set up for it, I'd have a 4x12 hooked up in another room, and I'd blast the hell out of it. And on gigs, I'd do the same thing. I mean, back in the day, I used to use on gigs a 4x12 off stage, pointing away from the stage, like cracked. But those days are very over. I think for everybody, not just for me. So there's definitely that thing which you've been more sensitive to. It definitely affects the way that the way the guitar it reacts with the power amp feed in the speaker. You're not getting that same thing, but that's not possible, is it, with a dummy load? I don't think. My understanding of it is very limited, but you're never going to get quite that same feedback feeling. The really feeding, the sustaining. We're nowhere near that. So I think it works for me. The compromise definitely works. But also, if it means you can take this kind of rig on a gig and have something on the speaker, so you can feel something.
Well, you can have a bit, or you can have it silent.
Yeah.
And as you were saying earlier, it's an important thing these days, isn't it, for a lot of musicians?
I think it is, given the way that gigs are run these days. If you play with an orchestra, you haven't got a chance. As soon as I went from using a 50 watt. In fact, I went from using a 100 watt head to a 50 watt head. With orchestras, if you turn up with a champ, you're in trouble. Seriously, and if you turn up with a champ and even block the back of the thing off, so there's nothing coming out of the back of it, I don't think you could get away with playing with an orchestra, because as soon as you make a distorted tone, they're all wincing. It's bad. It's really bad, and then that gets perceived as you doing something wrong. So that's not good for business, really. So I think it's the way ahead. I wish it wasn't, but I think it is. So listen, thanks for taking the time to talk through and for bringing this fantastic.
No, you're welcome.
Oh yes, one day it will be mine. This is definitely the way to go for me. But I hope the comparison videos help, and this might not be the last time Cliff and I visit this issue. We might have a proper go with another set of speakers, because Cliff's finesse with regard to how amps work, but also speaker choices. I'm a total novice with this stuff, so he's turning me on to possibilities with speakers that I'd never thought about. So we might revisit, but thanks for watching. Bye.